Are you a parent navigating the complexities of co-parenting, family court, or even domestic violence? If you are looking for ways to help protect your children and build a strong and supportive community around you, then look no further. Gray Minds Think Alike is your go-to resource for everything related to the complexities of family life. Join us as we dive into thoughtful conversations with experts and explore practical tips and strategies for tackling the challenges of parenthood in the throes of adversity so that no parent feels alone and every child's safety is protected. Hi, and welcome to Gray Minds Think Alike. Today we are talking with survivor Adrianne Phoenix on her journey with domestic abuse and how she navigates life's uncertainties as a middle-aged mom. Through advocacy and a little humor, Adrianne has successfully found her voice, and I'm so happy to speak with you today. Hi, Adrianne. Thanks so much for talking with us. If you want to just start by sharing a little bit about yourself and your background to let our listeners know all about you and how you became a parent advocate, that would be great.
Okay, thank you so much, Allie, for having me today. Yes, I am the former president of FACTS, which is Families Against Court Travesties. It's a court watch group. And through my service with FACTS, I learned a lot about domestic violence, family court crisis, I might call it, and a lot about myself. So I am actually a survivor from childhood trauma, and that led me down a path of continued abusive relationships throughout my life. And now I'm on my second divorce, and I am trying to protect my children from having similar issues and situations. So I consider myself a trauma-informed parent, a protective parent, and I'm trying to break generational cycles of trauma and family abuse that have persisted in my family for years. So I'm trying to break that for my children and also raise awareness because there's a big problem of family members abusing each other out there.
Okay, how did you actually get started with FACTS?
So I was going through a divorce and Google research. I came across FACTS probably about 8 years ago. And I thought, wow, these people know what I'm talking about based on the literature they were putting out and the people I spoke with there. It was finally a community of people that I could relate to about trying to divorce somebody that doesn't seem to have the same protective desires for their children that I do.
Right. And you found that was an effective tool for you. I actually just had Lily Schwark on, so we talked all about FACTS just last week.
I love Lily. Yes, FACTS was amazing. Just the community of people. It's mainly women, but there are men involved as well. And having support in the courtroom. It is such a traumatic experience to be in a courtroom where you feel totally alone. So having the support of people that know what you're going through was an absolute blessing. And I knew it going through it. I knew this is something special. This is not normal to have this level of support. And so I wanted to give back as soon as I got out of that situation. And that's how I got more involved with them. I've had to take a little bit of a step back recently because of my own health issues and second divorce.
Fun.
Yeah.
We definitely talk a lot about divorce here on Gray Minds. So if you need any advice, I would tune into some of those podcasts. Now, you mentioned that you were a survivor of DV. Can you talk a little bit about that? Was it from your childhood or your first marriage?
So DV is a very broad term, right? Yes. And a lot of times we think of domestic violence as a relationship problem, right? A man and a woman. But there are all kinds of domestic violence.
Sure.
It's violence within the home, and it can be perpetrated by a partner, a father, a mother, a sister, a brother, a cousin, a family member, even trusted coaches or teachers that are close to your life or close to your family. But whenever they live under the same roof as you, that's a big problem. So I grew up with a disordered mother. She was a borderline personality. I didn't know that at the time. I know that now. But my father was out of the picture. I simplify it by saying I was abandoned by my father and I was parentified by my mother, which was I had to grow up really fast. I witnessed a lot of domestic violence that my mother went through as a child. So that stuck with me. And then every relationship I've had pretty much has been not so good in that respect, where it's been a controlling relationship. Because I was raised the way that I was, to have to walk on eggshells around my mother, it groomed me to play that same role in my relationships. And it has come to fruition over and over again. And I am 44 years old, and I'm still trying to develop the skills to know my own worth and my value. And I don't know if I'll ever get there, but I want to give my children that ability to say I'm worth more and I deserve better.
Absolutely, of course. Now, so how do you think that being a survivor, living with your mother as she was, how do you think it affected your parenting style?
I read a lot about all of this stuff. And what I have gleaned is a lot of times victims of childhood trauma will continue down that same road, that same path, and just continue the cycle.
Yes.
Or they will try to be the cycle breaker. And I have definitely identified myself as a cycle breaker, or at least
Going to be, yes.
Yeah. So sometimes people say they learn from their parents. And I often say I learned from my parents what not to do or how not to be with my kids. At least
I think that's
what
the
I
goal
tell
for
myself.
every parent, right? You want to do the things that you wish your parents did differently. That's the goal.
That is the goal for most parents. But for a borderline parent, it's the opposite. My mother wanted to make me suffer like she did. She didn't want to make it easier. And I don't know if a lot of people out there know what a borderline personality is. And I hate to put all those labels on people because their labels are important for a lot of reasons, but then they're also very putting people in a box. And we're so complicated and complex that I don't like to put people in a box like that. But
what would you say the definition is? Textbook.
Of a border.
Yes, just to give our listeners some context.
So I think a lot of your listeners probably know what a narcissist is.
Yes.
Same thing, but borderlines tend to play up their victimhood a little more and try to get sympathy.
Okay.
And try to get people to take care of them more. So when that's your mother and you're 7 years old,
right,
it's very difficult as a child.
Right. Because you are the child and you expect them to do all of the nurturing.
And I didn't get a lot of that. So I feel
Were your parents married?
They were married, yeah, for about 5 years and then divorced. And it's really strange because I'm still very close to my father's side of the family, even though he just bailed. He was very young. He was 19 when I was conceived. So he wasn't ready. My mother was older. She was 25, but she was not mentally ready, I don't think, to raise a child either. But I'm here.
Is your mother still in your life?
So I have tried for many years, but recently, just this past year, I've been doing a lot of inner child work, which has helped me with my kids, but also it's helped me identify some boundaries that I probably should have put in place a long time ago.
Okay.
With my mother. But I have done that in this past year. I have said, hey, Mom, look, if you're not interested in taking any responsibility for your role in our fractured relationship, then I can't do this anymore. And that has happened. And unfortunately, my mother said, okay, bye. No, I'm not going to take any responsibility. But she's actually done what borderlines and narcissists do, which is infiltrate the other people in my life that also maybe don't have my best interest at heart. It's just yuck. That's all I can say. It's just yuck.
That's definitely having negative energy in your life can be toxic. So at least you recognize that. Are you her only child?
Well, I am her only child, yes. I grew up as an only child. I just in recent years found out that I do have a sibling out there, which I'm very excited about. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today was children and domestic violence being perpetrated on children, by other kids, by siblings, So I didn't have any siblings growing up, but I did have cousins, and I was abused, and I was sexually abused by a cousin at a young age. And when I disclosed that to my mother years later, not at the time, she informed me that she also had been sexually abused by her brother. And when I disclosed that to I had never known that until I right. shared. And then even on my dad's side of the family, I had an aunt that I was close with on that side. When I disclosed what had happened to me, she informed me about the family secrets on that side, and also sexual abuse at the hands of the men in our family. And I'm just sick to my stomach about how prevalent any kind of abuse, but sexual abuse specifically, how it's perpetrated by siblings or other kids.
And from what I've seen and what I've researched and who I've spoken to, a lot of it is, like you said, it's because it happens to them as a child. And then they take that pattern and they bring it and then again create cycles. So yes, stopping the cycle in that is also super important, because it will just keep happening generation after generation. So I always find that fascinating, because it's like, this person is an abuser, but they learned that from someone else when they were young. Mm-hmm. It's almost like they don't know better. They should know right from wrong, but they're groomed in such a way. So breaking that cycle is so important to end it. So I guess after you disclose this information, what happened from there?
Radio silence. It was, oh, wow, that's so awful. That happened to you. It happened to me too. Okay. Right. Hey, let's go to our family reunion next year and pretend like it didn't happen. And this is what really upset me was this past summer, there was an issue with a male in our family, an older male who is now really up in age. And the family was concerned about this family member. Everyone was like, oh gosh, he was missing. And I got so upset because that is the man that hurt a lot of women in our family. And I am at the point now where I feel like I don't care if he's missing right now. Why is our entire family right now up in arms about this person who hurt a lot of people?
So he sexually assaulted other family members besides you and your family?
This was the one on my dad's family, who I only know about one person that he hurt, but I suspect there are more. And I know the person that he hurt has forgiven him and wants to move on. But I don't forgive. And he didn't do anything to me. It's just what he represents.
So this is somebody else. Got it.
Yeah. This person didn't do, it's just what he represents to me and our family at this moment. There's just this lack of wanting to confront the people that have done
accountability.
And I understand that, but some of us have to put our foot down and say, our family needs to heal. And the best gift we can give to our children is talking about this, not ignoring it, not sweeping it under the rug, not pretending like we're this perfect family that has no problems.
Sure. Now, what about your abuser? Have you been in contact with that person, and now that you're an adult?
I have not. I've blocked that part of the family out of my life as well.
Okay.
I did have an opportunity to confront him a couple years ago, a possible opportunity, and I couldn't take it. I was in the same town. I could have gone to the house where everybody was gathering, and I couldn't do it. I can talk about it now, like to anyone else, but I don't. It's almost like I just don't even, he's not even worth my time. I don't even want.
No, it takes up a lot feelings and emotions that some people might find it easier to not confront it, but at least talk about it to maybe a counselor or therapist.
Yeah, and my children have no contact with him. If we were still in the same city, if I knew that he was going to possibly be around at all, then I would have a different approach. But because I know that we can pretty much avoid him, all of us, that's what I've chosen to do.
Okay. Well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but most of us don't have that ability to avoid our abuser, especially in the family court system.
No, right? Of course. Now, how would you say that you or somebody else that might be in a similar situation might actually break a cycle, might actually recognize that something needs to change and actually do something about it? Because I think that might be the hardest part.
The hardest part is speaking up. I have a blog that I started many years ago called I'm Finding My Voice, and it's important that we all find our voice. I'll give an example that really started motivating me to speak up more about things that might be taboo. When I was 33 years old, I had a miscarriage, and I had done what everybody tells you not to do, which is share the news prior to being 12 weeks along. So I shared it, and then I miscarried, and then I had to share that I have lost the baby. It was my first pregnancy, my first miscarriage. I did not know at the time how common it was. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Because I had to share it publicly, I got people reaching out to me that I have known my entire life that said to me, I'm so sorry, I went through it too. And I thought to myself, how did I not know? How did I not know that my cousin went through this, and my aunt went through this, and my grandma went through this? And I just said to myself right then, the reason I don't know is because we're too ashamed to talk about it. But we got to take the shame away, because I didn't do anything wrong to have a miscarriage. I know this now. I did not know it at the time. And I think if we speak about this more, then people will understand, the victims will understand that they're not in the wrong. The shame and the guilt that we have, it just overwhelms you. And we have to get over that and just speak up and talk about it.
So why do you think some people actually continue the cycle? Do they not know right from wrong? Do they think that because it happened to them that they're entitled to do it?
I think there are some people like that. Sure. I think there's a bunch of combinations of people out there. Some people know that they're wrong and they just want to hurt others. Some people are confused and don't know why they feel the way that they do because they've never talked about it with anyone. And talking through it. And when you don't do that, you bottle it up and you react or you act out on other people, and you can end up hurting other people because you're too ashamed to really confront what is going on inside of you.
Yeah, of course. So is that what it means to you to find your voice, is to speak up?
100%. We have gag orders in family court that are unconstitutional many times. And I think that whole idea of just silencing victims has permeated our culture, from the legal system all the way down to, we tell our children sometimes even to just, let's not talk about that. There's a place for that sometimes, but most of the time I think transparency, just like facts, wants transparency in the courtroom. Transparency, openness, honesty is the best way to get through some of these issues that we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I always say, sharing and talking about it is how you actually shed light on things, which is why I am so open about talking about what happened with me and Grayson, because people need to know. And the more I can share, the more I can get it out there. So I totally agree with finding your voice. I think it's hard for people to do that. Do you have any steps for people to maybe start that process of finding their voice and speaking up?
Let's see. Steps really include, I think, first, talking to somebody that you totally trust, which is hard to do, especially when the people that you trust oftentimes are the ones that have hurt you the most.
Sure. That's why I believe in therapy 100%.
100%. And finding a community of people that you can relate to. So the sisterhood that I have found in a lot of women that have gone through what I've gone through has been just the only thing that's gotten me through a lot of the time. A lot of people do have a mom that they can lean on, and I don't. So I do rely on I call it my tribe that I have made on my own. A lot of times we're born with a family, right? But you can make your own tribe.
Absolutely.
And I like to point out that phrase, blood is thicker than water, I think is actually been inverted over time, where the blood of the covenant is thicker than water of the womb is what I believe that saying comes from, which means your sisters and brothers in battle are the ones that you should have your loyalty to, not necessarily just the people that birthed you.
Right.
So finding somebody that you trust doesn't have to be a family member. It could be a therapist. or just a great friend, or somebody that you meet in one of these groups that's gone through the same situations.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in even just Facebook groups. I definitely belong to quite a few for different topics that at least you can converse with someone and chat with someone about things that you are both going through and you both know about. So I think that's important as well. Because when
That's
you do
actually
hear other people sharing similar things, it makes you want to share.
100%. And that's actually how I started to find out about sibling violence. It wasn't a topic that I knew anything about because I didn't have any siblings, but because I have children that have siblings and we're all trying to be the best moms that we can be. Sibling
Yeah.
rivalry happens, right? Your
Sure.
kids fight sometimes, but my kids have stepbrothers and half brothers, and there's a lot of dynamics involved in their relationship. But the
So
reason
what would
I
you say
started,
is sibling abuse?
I think anytime there's an imbalance of power and control, that's abuse. If somebody is trying to use the fact that they are older than you, bigger than you, stronger than you, smarter than you because they are 16 and you're 12, I'm sorry, that's abuse. Now, it's a spectrum, right? It can be a little thing. It could be something as like more of a bullying situation,
Right.
or
I
it
was
can
just going to say,
actually
how do you
be,
differentiate between bullying and abuse at that age?
I think they're all on a spectrum. I don't think they are different. I think they're, differing grades of abuse.
Sure.
It's a low grade or a high grade abusive situation. So, yeah, we know what bullies are in school, but for some reason, whenever the bullying is happening at home, it gets excused, and
Right.
it shouldn't.
So if you have
Because
one child that is bullying or abusing the other child, how do you go about remedying it? They're both your children in some cases.
yeah, that's the dilemma. And that's probably why sibling abuse is so persistent, because how can a parent choose?
Right.
You
And
have to
sometimes
at
the
some
parent
point.
might wear blinders because
Mm.
obviously they don't see it the way the child and the children may see it.
Right. I think all parents should be doing some sort of inner child work. And when
What does
these
that mean exactly?
inner child work is basically reparenting yourself.
Okay.
I think a lot of us have things that we would do differently than the way our parents raised us. And that's
Right.
okay. But reparenting is a little bit more. It's when trauma is involved. And it is going back. It's me looking at myself as a child and telling, I might get emotional here.
That's okay.
Giving myself the nurturing and the love that I should have been given from my mother, from my parents, really, but doing it from myself to myself now. And it sounds weird,
No,
but it
not at all.
works.
Right.
It does work in helping you process why
Sure.
you feel the way that you feel.
It's almost like hypnosis. You get back to a level, a place in your mind that sort of people deal with that for fears or irrational behaviors. They actually have to put themselves in these situations in their mind so that they can get through it, whether it's panic attacks or just fear of heights. So I get
Right.
that, putting yourself in that moment and trying to almost reverse it.
And in doing that, it really helps you talk to your kids, because you are trying to talk to yourself as a child, and it puts you in this mind frame where it makes it so much easier now to sit with my kids and just listen. Because that's what we need to do more, I think, as parents, is listen to our kids.
What are the
And
age differences between your kids?
Mine are 5, 6, 7, and 10.
6, 7, and 10. Okay.
Yes. And they have some teenage half siblings. So 15, 16, and 18. And it's the teenagers really that there was a bit of an imbalance of power between
Sure.
them and the younger ones. I have tried to stop that as best I can.
But those aren't your children, correct?
Correct.
The teens. So how do you mitigate that?
That's been my problem for 5 years. I've been trying to mitigate.
So this is with your
I don't have a
first
solution.
husband?
There's with my second husband. So I'm going
Second
through a
husband.
divorce right now, trying to segregate as much as I can. But the family courts don't care. at the moment. I hate to make that generalization, but it's been very hard for me to protect my children from their teenage siblings. Very hard.
Got it. Do they live together?
A little bit, half the time at the moment.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm just curious, your ex-husband, the parent of the teenagers, does he not see an issue or does not believe?
He did see an issue for a while.
Okay.
I don't know what has occurred that has made him do a 180 and now think that there isn't an issue. I have a lot of theories about why that has happened, but I don't have an actual absolute answer.
Okay. That's part of the problem there.
100%. When a parent doesn't want to acknowledge that their children are bullies or have hurt other people, we have an entitled child in that situation that's just going to continue to do what they have been doing. And so it is very important for parents to acknowledge and take accountability. And it's not an indictment on the parent to say, hey, man, my child messed up. We have some work to do. I think a lot of parents take it as such an attack whenever you say, hey, man, your kid hurt my kid. And I think we
especially
take
in this
that away.
instance when they're both his kids, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah, that is, I can't even tell you what's gone on between the teens. They have their own issues. I don't even know a lot of those issues. I know a little bit, but there's definitely a problem when the parents don't want to acknowledge and take a stand. When you have a child that's abusing another child, you can't just sit back and say, oh, I hope it works itself out. You have to make a decision. Right. You do have to take a stand. I don't know exactly what that is.
Sure. You need to actually teach children what right from wrong is. And would they want whatever they're doing done to them? I think that's a good example right there.
100%. It's just sometimes they can't put themselves in another person's shoes, it seems. So the preaching from the parents sometimes isn't getting through. And then you still have a problem. So what do you do next? I've been through the juvenile justice system with these teens.
Okay.
There are not a lot of resources.
Sure.
There just isn't. There's not a lot of mental health resources. I was just reading yesterday about kids being Baker acted and sent to JFK. There's a teen mental health crisis, in my opinion, and we just are not addressing it effectively. As parents, as a society. And I have a lot of ideas. I don't know how to implement and make a change other than to talk about it more.
Yeah, that's definitely the first step. So now, when I was reading a little bit about you, you mentioned the word traumedy. So I want to say, how has humor helped you get through life's challenges and navigate all of maybe the negatives?
Yeah, I have also found through therapy and through my inner child work that humor and comedy is often a trauma response, right?
Yes, it's definitely a defense mechanism for some, including myself.
Mm-hmm. Some of the funniest people that we know have had such traumatic experiences, and there is therapy in it. It's a therapeutic thing for me. Just living in a traumatic environment for so many years and feeling so anxious and having to walk on eggshells my entire childhood. I just needed a release of some sort, and some people go down a negative path, and I went down more of a need to be I'm not a class clown or anything. I don't act out, but I just find the humor in things, or try to.
It's definitely a form of self-help. So how do you find that humor? Do you take, for one, I'm going to divulge that I used to actually teach sketch comedy. I worked in an adult sleepaway camp and I taught sketch comedy. And when I lived in New York City, I went to all these classes at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater and the Magnet Theater, and I took writing classes, and that was always something very prevalent in my life. Since I had Grayson, I have taken a step back with all of that, as there just wasn't time. So how do you find that humor?
I actually went to a high school for the performing arts in Jacksonville, and I was a theater major. So a lot of the same things. I wasn't that good, but I found great.
You don't have to be good in sketch comedy. You just have to do it.
Playing another role is a great way to express your feelings, but not feel so vulnerable.
It's role playing. Yep.
100%. And I didn't know that about you, that you
Yeah.
had that background, because I would really love to get teens and kids into more programs like that, where not necessarily just acting, but acting from a trauma informed perspective.
Sure.
And role playing things like this, role
Right.
playing things like sibling violence and bullying.
Yeah.
I
It's
think a
definitely
lot
an
of good could
outlet.
come from that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to have something called a TikTok on the Block Club with local teens, where we make little TikToks about this kind of stuff. It's very therapeutic
Sure.
to act it out and then to get feedback from others, in my opinion. It's not for
No,
everybody, but
absolutely.
maybe we can team up on some sort of adventure one of these
Yeah,
days.
maybe. I have thought about getting more involved in it again, as was something I was excited to do when I was younger anyway. Definitely. I definitely think any type of outlet is important for anyone. And if it means role playing or just letting loose and just getting on a stage and talking about nothing, then that's an outlet in itself.
100%. And writing, all of the arts, in my opinion, are, and if you think about some of the greatest artists in art history, they were very tortured, a lot of them as well. Art in all aspects, painting, drawing, writing, very therapeutic.
Yep.
My
I'm actually
10-year-old
a writer,
actually,
so I know that firsthand.
my 10-year-old we had some friends visiting, and one of the teenagers, a young lady that visited us, is a writer, and she had some creative writing websites that she was working on, and it really inspired my 10-year-old. He just last week was like, "Hey mom, check out this website. I want to write some more." So
No,
I'm thrilled
that's
about
that's
that.
great. Yeah, I was an
Yeah.
English minor, so I always wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write commercials. I always had that creative aspect that I wanted to just be silly and write. And the great thing about writing is that anyone can do it. You just,
Yeah.
I would say, get a pen, but now you can type away, and it's literally just whatever's inside your mind.
It can take you so many places, and
It sure can.
very therapeutic. And whether it's traumedy or drama or comedy or whatever you want to write, all of the arts, I think, are so therapeutic and can
Sure.
be.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And I'm so glad that you're able to channel that into to positives, because I think that's a really hard part for people. So that is great. And hopefully others will learn to also do the same and use their voice and talk about things that, are hard for them and may put them in an uncomfortable situation, but ultimately will help not only them, but others. And so I appreciate you for sharing your story and
Thank
how
you.
you share your voice and find your voice. So thank you so much for coming on and talking with our listeners. Do you have any final words for anyone that might be going through something, difficult, whether it be abuse, sibling abuse, or just any kind of life complexities?
Yes, I think stand up, speak up, and don't let anyone silence you. If this person that you're speaking to doesn't listen, go to somebody else. Keep talking, keep speaking until somebody listens, would be my advice. And to you, Allie, I want to say thank you so much for this platform and the awareness that you have brought to South Florida through your tragedy. I'm so sorry for everything that you've been
Thank
through,
you.
but you're using this in such a positive way to help other people.
I'm trying. I get a lot of questions and emails thrown at me every single day, and I don't have the answers to help people with what they need. So if I could just interview and chat with people that do have some answers, then that is the goal.
Do you think Grayson's Law could be used for sibling violence situations?
It depends on case by case, but I don't see why not. Ultimately, if a child is being harmed in any way, then a judge should be able to step in and remove the child from the situation or figure out ways to mitigate that situation. It doesn't necessarily have to be the parent harming the child, the parent harming the parent. If anyone is harming anyone in your household, then something needs to change. The end.
100%.
You don't even need a law, I think, for something that it seems common sense, which is what, for me, which is why I always thought Grayson's Law didn't even have to be a law, because it was a human being harming a human being. And for a judge or for lawyers or for anyone to not recognize this just seems just complete asinine to me.
I totally agree. And I'm actually finding, at least in my case, it seems to me like it's the attorneys that are they just don't want to pursue it. They don't want to bring up Grayson's Law.
It's a lot of work for them. And if they're not getting paid well, they don't want to do the work. And they're lazy. Yeah. So I always tell people, do you have a good lawyer? Do you really have a good lawyer? And when I say a really good lawyer, I mean that one that's looking out for your best interest, not just their wallet. Because I have yet to have met that lawyer.
I get it. I will say I had a really great attorney that has a conflict of interest for me now. And I'm so bummed that I cannot use this attorney.
Refer that person to others, definitely. And that's one way to help.
100%. Can I say her name on here? I will, because she's a great attorney.
What type of attorney?
She's a family law attorney. Her name is Robin Weiss, and she's amazing. And I so wish I could still use her.
What city does she serve?
She's in Palm Beach County. Okay. Yeah, Palm Beach County mainly. I think she goes to Broward and Martin as well, but she's based in North Palm, I think.
Okay. I will definitely put that info in the show notes, and you never know who's listening and when they need a family lawyer. People ask me all the time for recommendations, so I'm always happy to share.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Adrianne. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing, and we'll keep in touch because I'm sure we'll have more to talk about.
100%. Thank you so much, Allie. You have a great day. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
If there's someone that you want to hear from on this podcast, please feel free to send me an email. Or if you would like to be a guest, please reach out at Allie@graysonschoice.org.